Hi, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel. It's so good to have you here. Can you believe that I have been on TPN for a whole year now? Because I can't. This last year has been an absolute roller coaster, and I am so thankful for the opportunities that I've had in this last year because I'm now on TPN. So if you're new here, let me quickly catch you up. A year ago, I was in hospital and I was dying of malnutrition. I have gastroparesis, which is paralysis of my digestive system, and intestinal failure, which means my intestines have failed as well. And they are very common comorbidities found with a connective tissue disorder called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome that I also have. I spent 4 weeks in my local hospital where we tried to get my intestines to work again, but unfortunately they weren't having it. And so I was transferred to a specialist hospital, and within 24 hours, I was put on the life-saving treatment, TPN, total parental nutrition. It is nutrition that I receive directly into my bloodstream through a port in my chest that goes and sits right at the tip of my vena cava. So essentially, I'm fed through my heart. The biggest thing that I have noticed as a result of being on TPN is how much more I am enjoying life. I spent the last 30 years barely surviving, and now I am thriving and I am loving life. I didn't know life could be like this. I was just miserable all the time. And now I have such joy and freedom. Because I'm now properly nourished, I actually just get to experience more things in life. And that starts with the very small things of just being able to socialize with my friends and go on dates with my husband. Let's not forget that I am still disabled, and so I am at the mercy of chronic illness fun tax whenever I do something enjoyable. But now, thankfully, the chronic illness fun tax isn't quite as high, and I recover from those activities much quicker than I did a year ago. When I go out in my wheelchair, and if it's in the evening, then I just take my backpack with me and it hangs on the back of my chair, and I don't even notice that I'm being fed while I'm out. This has meant that we can say yes to dinner invitations from friends. We can go and join them, and I just sit at the table while my friends eat, and I enjoy the conversation and just the ambience and enjoy just being with my friends. It's something that I couldn't do a year ago because I was so frightened of vomiting and being in pain and having a seizure. It was so embarrassing and I felt so vulnerable. But now I have the freedom to enjoy those things, and there's no pressure on me to eat anything. And we can say yes to evening invitations because I can stay up later now. I'm not in bed by 8:30. I've been able to go to the theatre and the cinema. And the combination of being in my wheelchair and being properly nourished just means that I am less fatigued in general, and I just get to enjoy it more. I'm going to repeat myself a lot throughout this video, but I think you get the general gist that I have a load more energy and I'm a lot more happy. Something else that has been really great for me is that when I first came out of hospital, I still had a PICC line in, which is a line that went into my arm and then up into my veins. And the risk of that moving and coming out was a lot higher, and I couldn't deal with it very well because I was essentially just down to one hand. And so in November of last year, I had a very small operation in which they put a port in my chest and have a nice long line, and so I can access it with both hands. This has made life on TPN much easier in general because, like I say, I can access it with both hands. Showering is easier because I can get it wet, whereas I couldn't get the PICC line wet at all. I had to shower with a big waterproof cuff on, and it's more discreet, so I just tuck it up into my bra during the day and it stays there and no one knows that I've got it. I unfortunately can't have a bath or go in swimming pools or the sea or anything like that because I can't submerge the line in water. The only pain is that I have to do a full dressing change when I get my line wet, so I try and limit my full body showers to like twice a week. I still do daily washes in the sink for the essentials, but full on body showers twice a week, and then I've got time afterwards to change my dressing and then get on with my day. One of the most common questions I get in the comments of my TikTok videos are people saying that they thought I couldn't be on TPN long term. We thought it was just a short term treatment. And in some cases that's true. For some people, they're just put on TPN as an interim treatment while their bowels heal from surgery. Or if you've got Crohn's or colitis and you're in a flare-up, then you're sometimes put on TPN. But then there are cases like mine where you're actually in full intestinal failure. It's been over a year, and although I've regained a very small amount of motility, it's only enough to take tablets because they're so small, they kind of sneak under the radar. I am nowhere near able to tolerate anything that resembles intestinal feeding, and definitely not eating. So I'm definitely going to be on TPN for the foreseeable future, which is fantastic for me because I can relax and not have to try and force my body to do something it's not ready to do. I can just settle into being dependent on TPN because I am flourishing with TPN far, far more than I ever did when I was eating or even being intestinal fed. I am basically a whole new woman now that I'm fed through my bloodstream. Can you tell I really like being on TPN? There are people who have been on TPN for 40 plus years, so it is possible to be on it long term. The risks that we're looking out for are non-alcoholic fatty liver disease and kidney damage, but I have regular blood tests to check on the health of my liver and kidneys, and we try and give my liver a break from digesting all the lipids because it's my liver that's doing all the heavy lifting now rather than my digestive system. And some of my bags have a lot of fats in them, lipids, and that's quite a lot for my liver to try and process. So I alternate between two bags. I have a lipids bag and a non-lipids bag, and I alternate nights with that. I've also hit my target weight, so I'm no longer in sort of a weight gain program. I'm in a weight management program, and that means that I actually only have to feed 6 days a week, which is lovely because it gives my liver a rest, but it also gives my brain a bit of a rest because being on TPN is very intensive. It takes, 30 minutes or so to do a connection in the evening, and you have to be really focused because I have to remain aseptic the entire time, not touch the key parts, and just make sure I'm remaining as clean as possible to avoid an infection, because that's the other risk with being on TPN is the risk of infection around my site and it quickly leading to a blood infection, which is sepsis. Sepsis can be life-threatening. That's also the reason I can't submerge my line in water, because more large bodies of water are a bit more stagnant and the risk of infection is higher. Whereas a shower, the water is continually running. So yeah, having that one night off a week not only gives my liver a break, but it also gives my brain a break. And it's like cooking dinner. You know how some days you just come home from work and you're just like, I cannot be bothered to cook dinner. I want to do everything else in the world except cook dinner tonight. And normally you would get a takeaway, but there's no takeaway option with TPN. So I have to do it. If there are times where I just really can't bring myself to do it, or I'm poorly for whatever reason, then my husband is also trained and so he can do it for me, which is helpful. But the majority of the time it's me that has to do it. So I really look forward to that Friday night when I have a break and I just get to relax and I'm tube free and I have a full night's sleep because I'm not getting up to pee and I just get a bit of a break. I am so thankful to be on TPN and I don't begrudge having to do it at all. But sometimes it's a lot and it's just nice to have a bit of a break. So looking forward to the future, what does that look like for me? And at the minute, it looks like TikTok success. This is crazy. This has come out of nowhere. And now I have a YouTube channel. So I'm educating you guys here as well. And it's all come thanks to the interest on my TikTok channel. I only set up that channel just to put a video out for Home Artificial Nutrition Awareness Week, not thinking it would get any views, and now it's got multi-million views and so many comments, and I am just mind blown at the reach that it's got. I was on Daily Dose of Internet, I'm going to be in a podcast, a physiotherapy centre want me to do a talk. It's all just crazy. But I've had so much fun making these videos and I love talking about my illnesses to other people, not from oh, please pity me and isn't your life so much better than mine, because I'm not feeling like that at all. It's let me educate you about how cool this form of treatment is, and these illnesses don't have a lot of awareness, so it's up to us, the people who suffer with them, to raise that awareness. And these sorts of videos didn't exist when I was going through my diagnosis journey. So if I can make just one video that encourages and reassures someone else who's currently going through their diagnosis journey that you are going to be okay, then it's all been worth it. I also really want medical professionals to see these videos and to understand the impact that these illnesses are having on people, in the hopes that it will encourage them to diagnose quicker than they're currently doing so. But yeah, because I'm so focused on wanting to spread the message, I want you guys to know that I am available. Hit me up if you want me to be on your podcast or come and give a talk to students, whatever it is that you think that I might be able to help with. I would love to hear from you. I've also excitingly had the opportunity to work with brands that I love. I'm working with a pajama company that I absolutely adore, and I wouldn't be able to do that if it wasn't for you guys reaching out and being engaging with my content and tagging these brands. And so it's blowing my mind that I'm like now a hashtag influencer, but loving it, and it's just great. On the same sort of lines as spreading awareness, I have mentioned in a previous video that I'm writing a book. I'll let you into a secret. I'm actually writing 2 books. They're both Christian-based books. So one is a memoir of my time in hospital, and it's really about my faith and how my faith grew as a result of being in hospital, how I learnt to trust God more and give him more control over my life, and in doing so found so much freedom. So I hope that you will read that and gain an insight into where this hope and this joy comes from, and a little bit more understanding of what it is that I had to go through to get to this point. The second book that I'm writing is a sort of 10 things a person with chronic illness wishes you knew, and the biblical responses to it. So historically, disabled people have not had great interactions with the church. People have been very quick to come in and assume that your disability is the worst thing in your life, and so it must be prayed away, and if it doesn't go away, then there's hidden sin in your life or generational sin. And guys, that's not helpful. So this book, I just really want to encourage the church and sort of educate the church on what it is that people with chronic illness and disability go through on a daily basis, and how as Christians and as the church, we can come alongside people in an appropriate and helpful way in order to lift them up and make them feel included. But it's also about individual Christians themselves. If you are a Christian, you have a friend who is diagnosed with a chronic illness, or you suddenly make a friend who has chronic illness and you want to know how you can support them in the best way possible, then this book is for you. The little cheat sheet on how to be a really good friend to someone with chronic illness or disability. And if you are a publisher, or you know of a publisher, particularly those who publish Christian books, and you're interested in my books, please do let me know. I'd love to hear from you. I would really love to create more internet content for you guys. So if there's a topic you'd love me to cover, please do leave it in the comments. I do read all of your comments, even if I can't respond to them all. And this channel is just as much about you as it is me, and I just want to be able to educate you on the things. So if you have burning questions, do check out my other videos, because I've probably answered them in a frequently asked questions video or on my YouTube channel. But please do engage, let's chat. And if you really want to know how something is done living life on TPN, then let me know and I will try and do a video about it. Looking even further into the future, sort of next year time, my husband and I are hoping to try for our first baby, which is very exciting. My medical team are absolutely ecstatic. They are so encouraging, and I think they're almost more excited than some of my family are, which is brilliant. My gastro team has bragged and said they've had many successful babies be born to mothers who have been on TPN. So that's not a worry there. TPN is actually the treatment that's used in severe cases of hyperemesis gravidum. And my risk of morning sickness is slightly increased with having gastro problems. So I'm actually just on the right treatment before that even becomes a problem. I know that you might be worried about my conditions being hereditary. And believe me, I've been down that road. I've been worried about it too. But speaking to my medical team has been so reassuring. And the Ehlers-Danlos that I have is my physical disability, and that has a 50% chance of being passed on, but they will only get my EDS mutation, which is hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, so they won't get the vascular or the classic or anything like that. It will be the same mutation that I have, but how that affects their body, we don't know until it happens. Thankfully, my Ehlers-Danlos itself is very well managed, and I genuinely don't believe that my quality of life has been diminished by having Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. The gastro side of things, the reasons that I'm on TPN, that's complete luck of the draw and not directly inherited. So we can't possibly know if my child will have gastro issues. They might experience something completely different related to Ehlers-Danlos if they inherit it from me. But who better to be their ally than their mother, who has already gone through the diagnostic journey? But there's also the chance that my child won't inherit it at all, and so they will be perfectly fine. A book that I found really helpful when thinking about becoming a parent has been We've Got This, which is a collection of essays written by disabled parents, and that was very reassuring and encouraging for both me and my husband. I'll put a link to it in the description because it was really good. I highly, highly recommend it if you are disabled and thinking about becoming a parent. One of my other sort of long-term goals is to get back into further study. I ironically have a degree in nutritional therapy, so I'm very well versed in all things nutrition. I just can't eat it. But I actually want to change the subject entirely and go into studying theology and really focus on the topic of disability and the church. I'm just really, really excited to see what God's got in store for me in the future, because he has been so faithful, so faithful. And I just can't quite fully describe it to you over video, but read the book. That's what I'm going to plug the book that's not finished yet. Please read that, and then you'll have a better understanding of what I mean when I say that my life has been transformed. So thank you, God. Thank you, NHS. Thank you, TPN, for giving me my life back. Here's to the last year, and I hope I have many more ahead.